Welcome back to the Oral Health Podcast. So in connection with National Smile Month, we are here bringing you bite-sized discussions with different people in dentistry about oral health and a variety of topics. So last episode, we looked at hidden sugars and free sugars, as they're now known. Today, we're going to be looking at sugar in a bit more of a general detail and its impact on oral health. So let's just dive straight in. I've got Karen back again. Once again, she's one of our dental health advisors. She works on our helpline and she knows a lot about sugar. So Karen, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Sophie. You?
Yeah, fantastic.
Good.
Yeah, can't complain.
Good.
So
you could, but nobody would listen.
Well, that's the one. That's it. No, it is a nice day today, so I'm gonna make the most of it. Why not?
Good.
And so we'll just get straight in. I mean, most of us know that sugar is added to a whole list of foods. We know that it's something we should look to cut down on if we want to improve our oral health. I mean, not just our oral health, our general health. We know that we should be cutting down. We maybe think about it and then we don't commit all the way, or there is little things that we could do to start to cut down on sugar. But I'm also interested to know why we use so much sugar in foods, because we know that it damages our health.
Well, I mean, as it has been said, sugar is the one thing we don't really need in our diet, but we really want in our diet because it tastes nice. It makes things taste good. I mean, sugar was first introduced into foods about 2,500 years ago in India. And I mean, it's used for various things, not just to sweeten the food. Sugar is used as a preservative. Obviously, it's a flavouring. It can be a colouring agent as well. And also it can be a bulking agent, so it will bulk out a product. So it's not just about the sweetness. So, you know, it has been around for a long time. And, you know, we've got used to it. I mean, nobody's born with a sweet tooth. It's when we actually taste it, we crave it then. We actually think, oh, I could just do it. And we do use it as a treat, or you know, if we've been particularly good, we kind of think we deserve it, I suppose. But if we can try and look at our diet in a different way, and not use food as a reward, and look at what our body needs rather than what our body wants, it can work better. I mean, obviously there are artificial sweeteners, of which xylitol is probably the best, because it is a natural sweetener. So you can add it to the foods and make your food as sweet as it was, you know, using normal sugar. But because it's found in some berries and fruit and mushrooms, and it is equal to the sweetness of sugar, but obviously much better for us. So that's the sweetener that tends to be used in a lot of sugar-free gums as well.
That's a natural sweetener, xylitol.
It is. It's a natural sweetener, which does. There have been studies that have shown that adding it can actually change the composition of plaque and make it less sticky. Wow. So it doesn't stick as much to the teeth. So it actually could benefit oral health from that respect, to make it easier to clean your teeth almost. So I think obviously there needs to be more research into that, but certainly there have been some studies that have shown that to be true. So that's always a positive. So looking for something that is sweetened with xylitol will help to perhaps, you know, wean the sugar that you crave, to sort of wean it down. And looking at the things, as we said in the last podcast, not everything that says no added sugar is sugar-free, because there are things that are really, really high in sugar, but it's natural sugars. And what we're looking at from an oral health point of view is something that, you know, washes off our teeth very quickly. So if you're looking at things like dried fruits and things like that, they are really high in sugar and they actually stick in the teeth. So the sugar is all held in one area for a long period of time. So anything like that should really be avoided. So fresh fruits are better than dried fruits. So it's looking about doing those swaps that we talked about before. more. So going into, making healthier choices, because we don't want to, make your life miserable and say you can't have anything that tastes nice. But what we want to do is try and look at healthier alternatives, and just a few simple swaps in our day-to-day life can reduce the amount of sugar that we're having dramatically.
So things like the dried fruits, maybe go for grapes instead of raisins and things like that. Like the raisins of just concentrated sugar pellets, really, aren't they?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So try and as I say, the swapping isn't hard if you think about it. At the start it takes a little while because you're
Hmm.
kind of looking at labels and things, but with things, with drinks, look at having the diet alternative to the full sugar alternative. So when you're popping into the supermarket to get your meal deal of a lunchtime, just have a look at swapping those things, and instead of having the chocolate bar as the snack, perhaps have a piece of fruit or some vegetables or something like that, which will just bring that sugar load down a lot, and with the
Hmm.
drink as well.
The biggest thing I did notice and that I have taken away when I have went and looked at labels and things, as well as the diet drinks, pasta sauces, cooking sauces. And
Mm-hmm.
I always look for the no added sugar, and I can't taste a difference. Well, actually, no,
No.
that's not entirely true. If I go back to one that does have the added sugar in, it's very sweet. Like you can
It is.
taste that it's been added in there, and you think, well, it actually tastes
Mm-hmm.
fine without it.
They tend to add it to anything that is tomato based, because
Mm,
tomato can be a little bit sour. So they add the sugar to make it more palatable, which is the same thing for tinned baby foods as well.
yeah.
It's kind of, mum tastes it, oh, that tastes nice, so I'll give it to baby. But yes, a lot of the tomato based ones are quite high in sugar. But there are the options now: lower sugar, lower salt, that kind of thing. But it can be a bit of a faff to make your own, but using a
Yeah.
plain passata won't have as much sugar in.
Hmm.
So okay, we don't all have to be Gordon Ramsay, and make all our sauces from scratch without the language. And we can do a swap and make it fit in with our lifestyle, if you like.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing to really take away is that you can make these changes and not make that it's not a massive compromise. It takes a bit of time to break the habit and form new habits of
Mm,
checking
mm,
labels and not just grabbing it because you really want it, and having a bit more thought
mm.
in there. But overall, you're not losing an awful lot by switching to sugar free or low sugar alternatives.
No,
And
not at all. I mean, and I think what you have to realise, that often the things that we don't realise are going to have sugar in, such as your pasta sauces, your tomato ketchup, your tomato soups, those kind of things. The things that we think and we perceive to be a healthy brand, such as yogurts and things like that, when you actually look at the amount of sugar, it's quite shocking. I
oh
mean,
yeah.
I do a lot of training with sort of schools and
Hmm.
different places, and we do the hidden sugar test, and we put the amount of sugar in test tubes, and we try and get people to guess what it is. And baked beans is always one that really shocks
Hmm.
people, because there's sort of 6 teaspoons in the baked beans. So that's something that people wouldn't necessarily think is going to be high in sugar. So that all adds, as we spoke the last time about the amount of free sugars that we're trying to keep under per day. So all of the things like that are adding, to our free sugars. So if you had a tin of baked beans, which, a lot of teenagers would have a whole tin of baked beans, certainly my children would, and you're having 6 teaspoons of sugar. That's only one more teaspoon of sugar for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to look at the no added sugar in that situation, because then you've still got some in hand if for the rest of the food the rest of the day.
Hmm. Well, it's it, and as well now, there's a lot of very good sweeteners, and there's a lot of different types of sweeteners. So, like, if you have a Splendor and think, oh, that's very sickly, then you can try another one. And like for
Mm.
adding to teas and coffees and things, um,
Yes.
like I only say have half a teaspoon of sugar in a cup of coffee, but that's still half a teaspoon that I don't really need.
Sophie, wait till we're back in the office. We'll wean you off the sugar.
Do you know what it is? And now that, because I'm thinking about it and talking about it all the time, I went to get my bottle of water and I was like, is there any sugar in that? No. Okay. Because it's a flavored water. And after
Oh, I
talking
know.
to Ben, who's if you don't know, he's the Oral Health Foundation president, and we've done a few episodes with him. When he's talking about things like acidic foods, and I'm sitting here drinking lemon water, I'm like, oh, let's just put that to the side.
It does. I mean, and like we've said before, it if you're going to have that kind of thing, have it as part of a meal time, and then plain water the rest of the time is obviously much better,
Mm-hmm.
from the acidic point of view, but from the sugar point of view as well. I mean, I just had a little look, just as an exercise this morning before I spoke to you, just the benefits of a sugar-free diet. Now, a sugar-free diet, I can imagine being really, really restricted, because you are not having any fruits or anything like that, anything with natural sugar in at all.
Mm-hmm.
But so it is highly restricted. But I mean, a lot of people are turning to this kind of thing. But it's saying, you've got a lower risk of illness and disease, obviously dental decay being one of those. It actually reduces hunger and cravings. So you're not craving the sugar, I suppose, after a while. You have a boost in energy, enhanced mental clarity, which I think we could all do with,
Oh yeah.
improved appearance, and it avoids allergens. So it sounds really, really good. I'm not sure how practical it is to cut sugar out completely,
Mm-hmm.
but certainly there is no need to necessarily go completely sugar free. There are ways that we can have a cake and eat it in inverted commas.
Yeah. Have our cake as long as it's a sugar-free cake and you're fine.
Yeah, that's difficult, that one.
But like the 100% sugar-free diet, if you can do it, fantastic, go for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe not super followable for everybody, but the thing
No.
is, even if you just make one or two changes, like for me with the pasta sauces and things, like I don't really drink fizzy drinks, so that's not an issue for me personally. But pasta sauce, baked beans, tinned things, which
Mm.
conveniently can get and cook, and
Yeah.
it's don't have to think about it. Do the thinking about it when you're buying it, and then you don't have to worry about the sugar content.
Yeah, yeah. And the more things you can make from home are obviously what you're putting into things. And,
Mm-hmm.
With the best will in the world, I am really not good at cooking. But, there are several, easy cookbooks that even I can follow and make it vaguely look like the picture. And I haven't poisoned any of the family so far. So, there are ways of actually looking at things. And, it's like when you're looking at things also, if you're on a low fat diet, there tends to be quite a lot of sugar in low fat things. So that's another thing to look at that you might not imagine there being a lot of sugar in. So if you look at low fat, just double check it. And also,
Yeah.
certain people on restricted diets, such as celiacs, their gluten-free products tend to have quite a lot of added sugar as well. So, there will be people who aren't able to necessarily swap in certain areas, but there will be areas that they are able to swap. They're on a
Yeah.
restricted diet.
And that's a point that I hadn't considered, the fact that the fat-free products, they need to add something else to make it taste good, so they're going to add the
Yeah,
sugar.
yeah,
That's
that's true.
I'm going to double check my labels on my yogurts and things then, because I think I've got a
Sophie,
low-fat yogurt in the freezer. In the
Sophie,
fridge.
I really, really hope I'm not behind you at the supermarket next time you're there.
Oh, I know. I'm going to be putting things in my basket and you're taking it out as I go along. Nope. Nope.
Oh, you'll have to come with me, I'll tell you. We have a couple of celiacs at the foundation, so I guess it would be, we could probably see what they say about their swaps. I mean, I have a daughter who's vegetarian, and I find that, when I do her things like, a cauliflower steak and whatever, and things like that, there is no sugar that I have added to anything. And if I sweeten anything, obviously, I use honey or something like that, which, is a free sugar. So it does have to be added to, the daily amount, but it's obviously more natural than a refined sugar.
But yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot that we've covered. We've went into, a lot of detail about the journey of sugar in food, as well as little tips that you can do to cut down, so checking your labels, switching to sweeteners, cutting down, maybe having a smaller portion of like a baked beans rather than having a whole tin, have a half tin, all of that. We over National Smile Month have been lucky enough to partner with a nutritionist who has gave us some tips on good oral health foods and tips on cutting out sugars. So have a look on our website, which is dentalhealth.org, and go to the Smile Month section and have a look at the articles on there, because there is some really good stuff. If you're sick of listening to our voices and just want to read something rather than listen to us talk about sugars. So that's an option as well. If you want to find us on social media, we're Twitter and Facebook at dentalhealth.org, Instagram at Oral Health Foundation, website, like I say, is dentalhealth.org. Karen, if people want to get in touch with the helpline, what's the best way to do that?
Well, we're on the phone lines 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and the telephone number is 01788 539-780. You might have to check that, Sophie.
It's one of those things where you never call yourself, so sometimes you don't know your own number off by hand.
Yeah, normally I can just read it off, but I think it is. There is a link to email us from the website, so you can just click on contact helpline and we will answer your email.
Fantastic. So any queries you've got about oral health and you want to ask someone impartial, hand over to the helpline and they will do their best to help you. This has been it for our episodes on sugar, and we're going to be back with more episodes on different oral health topics, like I say, throughout the month. So come back and have a listen. So yeah, that's it for now. Thank you, Karen, for joining me. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Sophie. Speak to you soon.